In one of my parish assignments, it was a hot summer's afternoon, a Saturday afternoon, in fact, and we were getting ready for the weekend. And one of our parishioners, a very committed young person who did a lot in the church, came banging on the rectory door, asking to see me because there was a matter of great urgency. He seemed panicked, let him in, and what he had to say to me was the following. He said, "Father," he said, "those people are in our church." Now, where we lived, on the opposite side of the street, was a Hindu temple belonging to the Hare Krishna people, those who wear the orange robes and play percussion instruments. So I assumed he was talking about the Hare Krishna people when he said, "Those people are in our church." And he seemed quite alarmed, as if they were going to go and destroy it or do some kind of damage. And I was quite amused by what he was telling me, and I said, "Well, what are they doing in our church?" And he said, "Well, I think they might be praying." And so I said, "Well, let's go and see." And so we went across to the church, and lo and behold, we're a group of the Hare Krishna community in our church, singing at the top of their voice, "Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare." They were banging their drums and playing their percussion instruments and having a wonderful time. And indeed, what they were doing was they were praying. But my parishioner was alarmed by this, because how could they possibly be allowed to pray in our church? And so we greeted the Hare Krishna people, and they'd just come to pray. And then they invited us to join in. So we were all singing Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare. I wasn't banging any drums, but I was standing there alongside all the percussion instruments, and we had a very nice moment together. And then they left and went back to their temple and invited us to go and eat with them, which we did. My parishioner, I think, was expecting me to tell them to leave our building and to go back to their own temple because they didn't belong with us. But I didn't do that. And why would I do that? Because Catholics do not have a monopoly over prayer. And it's exactly what Jesus is driving at in the gospel today. Whoever is not against us is for us. And whoever prays, however they pray to the Godhead, is doing a great favor for the world and for all those we encounter. The point being is that our God is great. His mercy is huge. And he's available to all peoples, and his designs and his purposes find a way of bearing fruit beyond the boundaries of our own personal understanding, institutional understanding, and worldly understanding. We belong to the universal church, where God is present in all things and all peoples. And so we should not be surprised if people do appear and pray in places where we do not expect them. Or we should not be surprised if people from other faiths or people that we do not know or complete and utter strangers reach out and offer their hands of friendship or help us in times of great need. Because that is the nature of God, and his grace infuses and is very much part of all peoples, all races, and all religions. I'm not sure if you realize, but in heaven there are no parishes. In heaven there are no political parties, and there are no sporting sides or clubs. There's just the Godhead. And please God, each one of us who knows Jesus and has prayed with Jesus and has made him a part of our life. And who's to say how Jesus has touched many other people who may not be of our faith or our denomination. It's beyond us. But the times that we try to limit, who can be a part of God's prayer, who can pray and who cannot, that you don't belong with us, really we're limiting God in what God can do for each one of us too. When we say that God can only share his grace through this parish, in this church, at this given time, we are restricting God. God's love is abundant and merciful and way beyond us. And so these opportunities, these moments, like me with the Hare Krishna and my parishioner who was hoping I would turf them out, they're moments when our faith gets stretched, our understanding of God is expanded, and our hearts become that much more open to what God is trying to do with each one of us in our lives right here and right now. It's like the gospel where Jesus says, those who offer a cup of water to drink in my name, they're very close to me. Their reward is not lost. Those people in your life who have helped you at times of great need, or the moments when you've been forgiven and you haven't really deserved it, or people who have reached out to you when you've been in great distress, physical, emotional, and quite by surprise, they happen to be strangers to you, or maybe not part of your company, your circle, or your family. They are offering to you that cup of water to drink in the name of Jesus Christ. There are encounters with the living Lord. And those are moments of great faith and great grace, and moments of great, great reward. And that is where our faith is about. Not about who belongs here or who belongs there or who lives on this side of the street and belongs and those who don't. God's mercy is abundant. God's grace is everywhere, and he is at work in all things and in all peoples and all nations so that we might come to know and love. The smallest funeral I ever celebrated was for the deceased in the casket, myself, and one mourner. The deceased in the casket had no one to honor his wishes in death. And so the person who came forward to honor his wishes, a neighbor, someone that he lived next to, was a Jewish lady. And I found myself in this funeral, myself and this Jewish lady, praying for the soul of this deceased Catholic, who without her cup of water to drink would have not received the Christian burial that he so desired. And I exchanged a few words with the lady after, and she said, "It's the least I could do." It was the least I could do. But it was that cup of water to drink which she showed and gave to the deceased member of the church. But by doing so, it was her cup of water to drink that I received, because suddenly it opened my mind that the grace of God is at work in ways that we do not understand or comprehend. And the moment that we try to restrict it is in some ways we restrict ourselves from knowing that love. Jesus understands how we are, that we are human beings, and we require structures to keep ourselves in place. But as we see in the Bible and from history, when the rules and the structures become so important, you forget the spirit of the message of God. You end up like the Pharisees in the gospel, and Jesus does not want us to be like Pharisees. No, the essence of our faith, the essence of the Catholic faith is really in those moments of the cup of water to drink. That person that's given you the cup of water to drink. That's where the faith is at. And the call then likewise to give the cup of water to drink to those who are in need, regardless of what they look like, regardless of their name, their lifestyle, or where they come from. Giving the cup of water to drink, we do not lose our reward. In fact, we gain so much by just extending the arm of friendship to those who are in need, regardless of who we are or where we come from. So, my friends, today, be open to the wideness of God's mercy, the breadth of God's love, and the depth of his concern for all of you and for everybody else out in the world that you do not yet know. They are potential agents of God's grace and mercy in the world. And you should not be surprised when somebody that you do not know, who does not belong to you, offers you that cup of water to drink. Because that's how Jesus works. And he's actively at work in our lives now, today. And we're invited, each one of us, to be enlivened and sensitive to what he's trying to do. Think of the cup of water moments in your own life and look actively to replicate them in the way that you live your life.